I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. It's 7 p.m. Tuesday, January 3rd, 2017. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, before I go into the public forum, one of our close members in reporting passed away last night, Tom Riley. He was a reporter for us here through the Chronicle for many years, covered a lot of stories for the Board of Selectmen, and I feel as though my colleagues and myself would like a moment of silence for Tom. Thank you. Next would be public forum, limited to 5 minutes per topic. Discussion or comments about town employees or agency members shall be avoided so as not to violate individuals' rights. Is anyone here for public forum? Next would be the minutes for the Board of Selectmen meeting on December 20th, 2016.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the Board of Selectmen's minutes from December 20th, 2016 as presented.
Second.
The motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Next would be under the agenda item, would be authorize the town administrator to sign the police station project. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we did with the middle school, high school project, I'm asking the Board of Selectmen to authorize me to sign all contracts, change orders, everything related to the police station project. The middle school, high school was a long project. It's probably, construction was the better part of five years, give or take. So, you know, that was very unusual, but there was an innumerable number of change orders, project requests, contracts and so forth that needed to be changed. And in the interest of expediency, we would like to I would like the authorization to sign these contracts with reviewing these contracts or change orders with the police station building committee. It worked well with the middle school, high school, and hopefully we can consider the same arrangement with the police station. If not, I would have to figure out an arrangement probably with the chair where you could come in and sign change orders or contracts for, you know, various, either the designer, general contractor, subcontractor, and so forth. So a lot of paperwork, but I'm looking for your approval on that.
We have discussion on it. Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, generally, I think this makes a lot of sense. I think the way that it worked with the school building committee, it would have been impossible, I think, to run everything that needed to be signed through this board. So I think that this is the right thing to do. But if you would, can you just sort of explain a little bit about the process? I mean, do you have the ability, or would you sign anything without sort of having the approval of the building committee first?
No, and, you know, I won't sign this CMS contract for the OPM without getting your approval first. I just think, one, I think it's illegal for me to do so, for one. The police station building committee will be established tomorrow night, and we will elect a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk of that committee. That leadership of that committee might assist me with, if there's an emergency that comes up regarding the police station, then they might be authorized by the full police station building committee to sign that contract, or give me authorization to sign that contract, or change order, whatever the paperwork may be.
Yeah.
But that has to go through some approval. I won't sign anything just because it's unless there's some formal vote or authorization by the,
Sorry.
police station building committee to sign it, to authorize it.
All right, thank you for that. I have full confidence in you and the process. And again, I think it just makes the process workable. I think any other arrangement where, certainly anything that required all of those kind of signatures to come through us, to me, just feels like it's just onerous and too cumbersome to work. So I fully support that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jesse?
Yeah, I'd like to echo Dave's sentiment. I mean, it would be one thing if we were a full-time governing body, but ultimately Jim's job is to represent us, and he is the day-to-day face of town hall. So I think it's just a matter of common sense to authorize him to make these signatures for us. Because again, it could be something that needs to be done, and if it was to wait till it either got to either our steps or the building committee's steps, then it could just delay the process more than it needs to be, so.
Yeah, what we did with the middle school, high school is, we set up sort of like a phone tree. And then whenever some emergency came past my desk and it needed to be signed or authorized, then I would contact Wendy Mead, the chairperson of the middle school, high school project, and get in touch with her, and she would go down the chain and kind of get the authorization to sign the contract. Ultimately, you're the board's representative on the police station building committee, so they will have some representation, and you'll see that everything's brought before the police station building committee.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mike?
No, just to echo what was said by to Selectman Hall and Selectman Lemanik. It just seems like, in order to get every approval and every process along the way, it'd be a full time, and we're not. The fact, and seeing that there's a board that's designed, and after answering Selectman Hall's question, that there's already a board designed to oversee in case,
Right.
It's not just one person signing everything and the responsibility along with any liability of a decision made by one person, but there's a board in place for that. So, I definitely think the approval for that would be fantastic. Along with it, sounds like, this is the first process or project, major project that I've been involved in the board. This is how it's been done in the past.
Yes.
And has worked, and it seems like that's how other towns work it also. So
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. And I'll echo all my colleagues, but I will say this is the second bite of the apple, pretty much where we've been through it once. We're going to go through it again. And just to keep everything fluid, Jim, I think it's a good recommendation, and I approve it also.
Good.
With that said, we have a agenda on the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign all contracts, change orders, etc., for the police station project.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Next under the agenda would be appointment to the Sutton Historical Commission. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a request from Rochelle Forsyth to sit on the Historical Commission. There is an opening right now, and I don't know whether Ms. Forsyth would want to come up. Keith Downer is also here, representing the Historical Commission. If he wants to come up, that would be great.
Want to come up, Keith?
Come on. Oh, it's an associate position, I'm sorry.
And like we do for any candidates that are before us, would you please, Michelle, please cite your name and address, please?
My name is Rochelle Forsyth. I live at 33 Mumford Street, Manchog, Massachusetts. I've lived in town for 67 years. I'm fourth generation to live on this property. And educated in the Sutton school systems, and have been a member of the Sutton Historical Society since its inception. Interest is in town history, Blackstone Valley, Massachusetts. To go forward, we have to look back and see mistakes, good things, bad things, whatever. And this was presented to me as something of interest, would I like to participate? So this is what I'm asking.
And Keith?
Keith Downer, 334 Boston Road, Chair of the Sutton Historical Commission. I think I'm on my 20th year. I'm pretty close. But with that said, when we were approached with a potential candidate for the, it's not a regular seat, it's a associate. But still, Rochelle came to our meeting. I think this ties in well with our MHC grant with Manchog, and you being from Manchog brings us together, and it's an exciting time for that area, and it's well needed to have a representative from down there on our commission. So if you guys are in agreement, I think we'd be excited to have her on, if you guys are all for it.
I'd like to open up the board. Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being here, of course.
Thank you.
Please.
From work, you know.
Yeah.
I have to say that one of my favorite sort of agenda items as a member of this board is when we have volunteers come before us and you know, even if it's only for 3 minutes to say a little bit about themselves and introduce themselves to the town. We thrive really on the efforts of volunteers around town. So you are obviously a great fit for this, and I'm really happy to support you, and mostly happy to thank you for volunteering to do this kind of thing. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jesse?
Good evening to you both, and thanks for coming.
Evening, thank you.
Rochelle, thank you for volunteering to serve on this commission. I am also kind of a resident history nut, as it were, a history professor. I teach at a couple of colleges, and history is definitely important. And I'll tell you, it's something that our society is losing focus on. So for you to be willing to step up and volunteer to help preserve the history of this town, it's definitely a wonderful venture. And as I'm sure you already are very knowledgeable about how unique history, or much the unique history that Sutton has enjoyed since its foundation, I think you're just going to have a lot of fun with this. So thank you for stepping up. Thank you for volunteering, and enjoy your first term as an alternate member.
Thank you.
Mike?
Again, thank you, Rochelle, for volunteering. Did you say 67 years?
Yes.
How's that possible? No, couldn't tell. But you know, just to reiterate the fact of what they said, it's great. You know, just from even my short term from being on the board, to see people step up and volunteer. I remember the first time Selectman Hall said that, it was kind of like, really? And then as us as pretty much volunteers here, along with many different departments along the way and people volunteering, I can appreciate what people do, and to do that down in Manchog and have someone from Manchog, I'm excited about that. So thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
When I saw this application come before me, I was very excited. There's no better person to you to be in this position. You carry a lot. You're a cog in a factory wheel for the Manchog area, and through Blackstone Valley, it's a plus for the valley, and we don't go unnoticed. Blackstone Valley is up and coming. So it's great to have you, Rochelle. I can remember 30, 40 years ago when I was on the police department with your lovely husband, Dan.
No, it's not the same. No.
Okay, well, I thought it was, all right. Well, anyway, thank you very much. Excellent.
Thank
We
you.
have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Rochelle Forsyth to the Sutton Historical Commission as an associate member for a 3-year term to expire June of 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
It's a great town.
We agree. Makes a difference.
And next would be the town administrator's update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a few updates for the board. The first is the FY18 budget update. The process is well underway. The capital plan request went out to department heads in November, early November. The school department is working on their process. They will have a budget hearing, I believe, at some point towards the end of December, January, I'm sorry. The draft capital plan has been completed. It's enclosed in your packet. You can take a look at it. Our plan is to use free cash again to fund the capital plan. leaving the capital stabilization fund untouched as of now for this year's capital plan. So we want to preserve the capital stabilization fund, let it to continue to grow for us to be able to afford more expensive projects down the line. So we did get 1.3 million certified by the Department of Revenue as of June 30th, 2016. So that's all available for us. Our plan is to use probably half of it for the capital plan and preserve the other half for other issues. Snow and ice is one big one. Healthcare is another thing that we've got our eyes on. And it doesn't hurt for us to carry over free cash from one year to the other. So we have that ability. Ultimately, this year we carried over, $250,000, give or take, to free cash from last year. So it is a healthy reserve that we're able to continue to use. I have retained a consultant, Human Resource Services, to take a look at department head salaries. The last time we looked at department head salaries was probably 10 to 12 years ago. And they gave us a situation where department heads were to go up by generally 2% and get a step increase of 2%. So a total increase of 4% per year for department heads. This was back in 2007 before the recession hit and when I started working here. What I realized even before the recession is that really wasn't sustainable for the long term. One, our revenues grow by 2.5%, plus new growth, but mostly 2.5%. And we're giving out raises of 4% every year. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I started giving a standard flat rate increase to department heads of roughly 2%. There was one year we took a 0 as department heads to help the town. But I just want to make sure we're in the same realm with our surrounding communities, to make sure that we don't lose good department heads like Matt Belcito, John Kuchar, Jen Hager, all of our department heads, to more lucrative towns that have the ability or willingness to pay department heads more. So I just want to make sure we're in the same range with the communities surrounding Sutton at this point in time. I don't know what those results will be. I know this company. I'm very familiar with them. Both Sandy and Buzz Strepsinski, Buzz was a long-term town manager for the town of Andover, and his wife Sandy runs this human services service. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll see what that comes out. The budget presentation to the Board of Selectmen is February 21st. As far as the state numbers, I'm not expecting anything. I'm expecting a minimal Chapter 70 increase and a minimal lottery aid, which is UGA, unrestricted general government aid. So I'm not expecting a ton of money coming from other resources other than the town. And we're doing a good job relying upon this one source of revenue. With the help of Tim Harrison and the rest of the team, I think we're doing a decent job. We just need to, grow in moderation and be careful before, adding too many positions or anything else. Middle school, high school update. The town was notified by MSBA that the final audit was complete. At their meeting in November, we were informed that we would be receiving $240,000 back from MSBA. We currently have $50,000 in our account, so this would bring the number up close to $300,000 remaining on this project. The building committee will meet next Wednesday night to decide what we'd like to do. A couple of options. We have a couple projects we would like to pursue, and one is a sidewalk down to Shaw Farm for the cross country and the other events. Hopefully we will put a track up there at some point in time. And it just makes a lot of sense. Another option is to return those monies back to lower the tax burden as a result of the debt exclusion override of the middle school, high school project. That is another option that would be considered at this meeting. But we'll have to wait and see what the committee decides. They have the ability to make decisions to fund projects that are within the scope of the middle school, high school project, and clearly the sidewalk down to Shaw Farm would be in the scope of that project. Gate at the end of Gilmore Drive, the board brought this up, I think, recently at the last meeting or the meeting before, that the gate was unlocked. We did communicate with the owners of the development, and we currently have a lock on that gate with a number of keys for the public safety departments. Mike Robinson and Jen Hager were very important to making this happen, so I want to say thanks to both of them. Mike does a great job as kind of the Gilmore Drive representative, and I want to send thanks out to him. Blue Top on the Beehive property, you might not have noticed that, but we have been communicating with the owners of the Beehive probably since early fall to let them know the condition of the roof. We had a person go into that property and take pictures. I don't know that they got permission to do that, but they did it anyway, and we saw them on Facebook, and we saw the condition of the interior, the ceilings collapsing into the building, ultimately water damage. So it was pretty clear that the roof was having some serious integrity issues. Jen Hager, again, was the lead on this. She informed them that the town was reconsidering rezoning of this portion of this village district. And right now, the building can only be a single-family use. So, either a single family moves into that property and renovates it, which is not as cost prohibitive at this point in time. So, if they want to preserve it and they want to wait on town meeting to see if they are interested in rezoning it, then they did the right thing by putting a tarp on it. It's not the most attractive site, but hopefully the roof is maintained to the point when we're able to rehab it, if that's possible. Ultimately, the public records law is this Thursday presentation from Copeland and Page up here in the Board of Selectmen's meeting room. The towns of Douglas, Northbridge, Sutton, and a couple members from, I think, Swampscott are coming. So probably 30, 35 members will be at this presentation, town administrators from all those communities. And Tom McEnany, as well as another associate at Copeland and Page, will be running this presentation.
What time?
10 a.m. Thursday. That's all I have for updates, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any comments on this? Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the update, Jim. Item number one, I guess there's a lot to take out of this, but, maybe the top thing is how nice it is to have no need for free cash in the budget, so that whatever number we have for free cash is free to do, is truly free cash. We can do with it what we want. And so knowing that we're going to be able to fund our entire capital plan out of free cash is, so it doesn't require any debt. It doesn't require any ongoing regular budget item. It doesn't require any money coming out of the capital reserve. Is astounding. It's really a good thing. I wish Tim hadn't walked out of the room just now. That's very impressive and a very nice luxury to have. So,
Yes.
Very appreciative of the situation that we're in. So, I'm happy to hear the report for the Human Resources Service Consultant.
Yeah.
In my own work, we have exactly this problem where gauging where you are against the market becomes really important because you don't want to lose good people. So I think, taking a step back from time to time and understanding where you are relative to your peers is a good step. I think it just helps us to, as you say, we have good people and we'd like to keep good people. So losing them for what amounts to short dollars potentially is unwise. So I think that's a smart thing. When do you expect to have results back from that?
I was told prior to the budget presentation in February. So I did get an email from Sandy this evening or today at some point telling me she's working on it and, you know, gave me an update. So probably at some point in later January, I'll have an idea of what we're looking at.
Okay, great.
And I'll keep the board informed of that.
We don't need town administrator numbers. We're all set with that.
Yes, thank you.
You know, also, I had neglected to mention at our last meeting, you had told us at that point that we were expecting this big refund back from the middle school, high school project. And again, it's too bad that Tim has left the room, because that should not go uncommented upon. You know, that was a situation where at one point the state it was really going to go the other way, where we thought we might actually have to contribute some more dollars. And in my opinion, I think that was the result of the change is the result of people like Tim working really hard to educate the state group on kind of how the numbers worked out, and you know, where this is really a new process. And I think we had some particular circumstances that were kind of unusual, and really, I think our lobbying went a long way toward getting this number to where it is. So that was a lot of good work to get there, and so I think that deserves some comment. And there's a few other things in here, but I'll let others comment on that. Thank you for the update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim, thank you for the updates.
Sure.
Excellent, as always. To echo Dave's comments about number one, there's a lot of information you packed into that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's
I mean, obviously, not everything is coming up roses, as it were, but I hopefully we're in good shape financially looking into the next budget season. And for those people in the community who are not familiar with the capital plan, I won't mention anything in particular, but there are some pretty big ticket items in here, which most communities have to borrow in order to maintain or repair. And we have the luxury of being one of the few communities in the area that have this means, due to foresight of Jim and Tim and others who worked on this, to allow us to develop this free cash system, where essentially it's just money, and it's stuff that the town needs to buy. But again, we're not putting an extra burden upon the taxpayers. So I just think it's fantastic, and I think it's exciting. And again, a little bit of money saved, you know, for a rainy day fund goes a long way when you look at some of these items that we're going to be able to replace or repair.
You know, the nice part is there's another part of this that's not involved, and that's the Green Communities Grant, which we'll be applying for in March this year. And that will potentially offset some of the costs going over the school department for that boiler replacement. So
Yeah, that was the one item that, of course, in particular.
yeah, that's a big ticket item. And ultimately, you know, a lot of the elementary school infrastructure, the HVAC and the boilers and so forth, are reaching the end of life term. So it's coming up on, 20 years.
And most people aren't aware that a building, I mean, it's in relatively good shape, but
Right.
the elementary school is been
And
in
now we
operation
just need
for
to be
20 years.
proactive and take one item at a time, and you'll see future capital items of boilers, chillers, and other types of HVAC systems being replaced. So we're not in a situation where something doesn't work and we got to close the school and have an emergency repair. We're trying to be proactive in this approach.
Sustainability. Excellent. All right. As far as the middle school money, high school money coming back, I think that's excellent. In an era where all it seems you hear is that government projects can perpetually go over budget, due to, bless you. Due to oversight, as was mentioned, and just luck, we ended up coming under budget. And the fact that we were able to, in spite of everything, still have this money roll back to us is a good thing. Obviously, I don't want to put my opinion in terms of how the money should go, because I think whether it goes back to the taxpayers or goes to the sidewalk, I think both great, and I look forward to seeing what the building committee decides. And the Beehive, yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be nice if something happens at that site. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And then I have nothing else to say. Thank you very much.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Jim, for the updates. Again, colleagues have covered a few points there. Question on the human resource services coming in and the company or the consultants coming in and checking out. If for any reason we were out of whack, would we then try to put together a plan to get them up to speed?
Potentially.
Is that what?
Yeah, you're right. The worst case scenario is if surrounding communities are paying $10,000, $15,000 more than our department heads are making. That puts us in a, awkward position of like, wow, that's just not fair. And then we just need to figure out a system to get them up to speed. And that may be a multi-year plan. It may be, if somebody's average is $7,000 less than the surrounding communities, maybe we give them a one-time bump to bring their salary commensurate with surrounding department heads.
Yeah.
But I really don't know what to expect until, we may find that some of our department heads are being paid more than surrounding towns. So it could go either way.
Okay.
I'm not making any decisions, before the fact. I'd rather see the data.
It's good to have, though.
Yeah,
Again,
certainly.
with any contracts, negotiating with or trying to figure out if another town were to step in and take, highway department, let's use, and go after them, we might not be able to come close to matching because it'd be too large of an increase. But we never realized it because we've been off so far for so long. So
yeah, Matt Stencil comes from Millbury. If Bob McNeil, he doesn't get his contract renewed or something happens to him and he moves on, I'm sure he's an attractive target for Millbury.
Right.
Same with Matt Belcito. Matt is a very attractive fire chief candidate, and there are fire chief selections going on in Northbridge right now and other surrounding communities. I'd hate to even consider, them even thinking about moving on because, we've got a great culture and great environment here, and I think that accommodates for a lot of it. But you got to make a livable wage as well.
yeah, exactly. With the funds coming back, I think it was about a year ago when we had the letter composed and put together, sent it over to Governor Baker. If we were to receive that money back, let's say, again, not to speculate on which way the money should go, but the sidewalk was built and then we received those funds were released by Governor Baker, could we get that money, reimbursed to us?
Well, I'll have to double check on that. I don't know that those funds will ever be released, to be honest with you. That's just my perspective, and I think it's the representatives, town representatives to the state's perspective as well. But if in some situation where Governor Baker releases money that was put in there under Deval Patrick's administration and by a former state senator, then, I don't know that this number is going to fully develop a sidewalk.
Okay,
So, I guess I'll do a little research into that and see if that's a viable option. If that's going to happen, then we just maybe keep our powder dry a little bit. But I just don't think that's gonna happen.
What I'm at, and again, that's why it was kind of tough to come up with a way to, it seems like I'm asking an ask on top of something that we may be waiting on anyways.
Yeah.
So it's an if this happens, can we do something that might happen or might not anyways. But just out of curiosity, I was wondering, I think it was last meeting somebody had brought up the sidewalk, and I thought about the funds, and if that was ever released ever, would it be something that we could get reimbursed for, or would they think at that point the job has been done? So that's all. Okay. Also on the Beehive, I thought I saw a sign up there, the roofing company. So I don't know if they're moving forward on putting up a new roof, or if that was just the company that put.
Just for the top,
I think
Is that
that's
just the top? All right, I wasn't
that's
sure.
yeah.
But they're really moving on that.
Yeah, I think it's just the top right now.
Perfect.
So.
Excellent. That's all I had. Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jim, thank you for the update. I'm quite excited to see number 2 on the middle school, high school update on the funds that are there. And I want to go back a little bit. Several years ago, when Senator Richard Moore from Uxbridge, he put in $350,000 to try to get a sidewalk.
Right.
And that kind of fell through the cracks. But in the meantime, we were told that Sutton didn't sit back on their laurels. We did some work towards that with the Safe Schools Act, and we got the school department along with Jim, all the work that you did, and Jen Hager and everything. So I think this is probably viable, that where we want this sidewalk is on a state road, and we have no safe access for the kids to go from the school down to Shaw Farm. And with our football program and everything else and track program, we want to move there. It's not much of a distance to achieve that. So now that we have some money here, I would hope that they wouldn't decide on January 11th, my own personal opinion, that some of this money would go towards the sidewalk. What I would like to see happen is maybe revisit the Safe School initiative. And because we got some money here, let's see what DOT, let's see what District 3 up on Belmont Street, get those people involved in this again. And if we could, we tell them we're serious about this, and if we could offer a little bit of money, and, have them come up with the state funds, but we're willing to put in some type of a share. And as long as we can make a partnership out of it, hopefully, I think that would be a good thing. I think for all of us, it's safety for the kids.
Right.
And it's on a state road, and I don't see anything that would be any more suitable is to tie in something with the town and the school on a state road and having a sidewalk. But that's my own personal opinion, and I just wanted to kind of share that with everybody here. So with that, thank you, Jim, for your update again. We do have now announcements and Selectmen's Roundtable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to pick up on your opening statements regarding Tom Riley. He covered this board for many, many years quite admirably, and we appreciate everything that he did, and it was good for us to see him last week, and he'll be missed.
Yeah.
Certainly will.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, for many, many years, I was a subscriber to the Millbury Sutton Chronicle, and let's be honest with you, it's the paper starts off with his column, and it's a must read, particularly when he was covering both boards, and it was always nice that Millbury seemed to get a little more coverage than Sutton, for the right reasons, of course. And since he moved over to just Millbury, shortly after I was elected, obviously I didn't get to enjoy his presence as much as we've had with Bob being present for the Chronicle, but man, I tell you, he was a tough cookie. He was a lion. He was a stalwart. He held the elected officials accountable. And you need people in the press like that, so definitely will be missed.
We talk about it on a public official level, but, in defeating on that, I mentioned something to my daughter, that he was a Millbury teacher. And she'd heard through friends that they're going to miss him. He was their favorite teacher. And one of my wife's coworkers graduated from Millbury, and she said the same thing. He was the best teacher, and everyone loved him. So not only did he have his career as a journalist, but as a teacher, I think he touched so many people. I personally hadn't had as much of a chance to talk to him or get to know him, but again, the fact that to touch that many people in a positive way is probably a good, rewarding accomplishment that his family can look back and his friends and say, that they're happy of what he did and proud of it. So, for other updates, just continue to give with Paul not being here tonight to the food pantry. Even if it's food and they're stocked up and they're doing well, you can go on the website, right, Jess?
Yep,
The website,
always.
find out what they're doing, and I'm sure they could always use toiletry and things like that don't have expiration dates. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. And next would be the correspondence and business topics.
I'm good.
I have nothing.
And we do have correspondence from Mr. Dwyer. It'll be on file in the Selectman's office.
Thank you.
And with that said, we call for an adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.